excited to be here today representing Remitian, which is a new offering on the market. So before jumping in, I want to introduce myself a little bit because I'm one of your customers. So I'm what I would call a serial startup founder. So I started a number of business focusing on the accounting technology. And one of them was automating proposals using AI before AI. And with that, startup world, there was a complexity in the accounting and the filing, on the filing front. I had my holding company, I had an operating company, I had my personal, I had my wife, and so forth. And then my accountant would give me at the end of the year a T1, a T2, one for CRA, one for Quebec, and I had to figure out how to pay. And really, they told me goodbye, see you next year. And I have to admit, at in some instances, I forgot to pay on time. I, used the wrong account in one instance. And at the end of the day, I received, sometime during the year, a concerning and scary letter from the government saying, hey, we haven't received your payment, and so forth. So, this is something that's very true for a number of entrepreneurs, of professionals, and of small business owners. And so I'm very compelled to solving this problem because I know firsthand that busy entrepreneurs don't necessarily have time, and I really appreciate the help that my accountant has provided me. And oftentimes, without being it was out of billable time, really. I was calling and, hey, I have a problem here. He was helping me on the phone, but that, was not charged to me in the end. So, thanks for him to support me, but then I realized that something better could be done. Why did we build that TaxCycle integration? So one of our biggest power user is Larry and his firm at McIntyre. And he's, very up to date and up to speed with TaxCycle. He's one of the early Remitian users. He wanted to provide a value add to his users, so not just, here's the filing to you next year, but really provide that last mile support so the taxpayer would be assisted, all the way to the payment in an automated way. And really, it was to reduce errors. A lot of taxpayers would call him with problems, and then it was an error on the taxpayer side, not knowing what to file, which drop down to you. That being said, it was, this implementation was quite successful, saved actual, measured budget. What really impressed me was the NPS, increase, so Net Promoter Score. So with tools like with Remitian, it went up 2 points. So from I believe it was 7.5 to 9.5. And so really providing this additional service that others don't provide, provided increased retention, actually attracted some high net worth individuals, some people with cross-border payments, and so forth. So really that enhanced his practice. It was quite successful with TaxCycle on one end, Remitian on the other end, but then the data entry was a bit time-consuming. You had to synchronize, what are the payments, what are the interests, what are the quarterly payments, and so came the integration. So following his lead and his need, we actually, initiated the work of building that connector. So here you will recognize the TaxCycle view, right? So the T1, T2, T3, so those are all tax filing types that we support. And now I'll go into a T2, which is nothing special. It's just a normal T2 that goes in TaxCycle. So now this is a demonstration dentistry office. The person here, Iris, may have, maybe a dozen is there. She's managing her dentistry office. She has, few employees. And this is the corporate return here, but there's also, a T1 that will be going with that, and maybe several T1s. So, you'll start filing the business identification number, the name, the contact. So all of this data will be used to create the record in Remitian, so there's really nothing for you to do. But what the taxpayer is interested in, there's a number of fields here, like inventory management, like some grants, some discounts, and so forth. But, ultimately what the taxpayer will be interested in is what's at the very end here, which is the number, this number here. How much do I owe? Right? So ultimately when you give that package, the one action that stands out of this package for the taxpayer, really, they trust you, you did your job really well across, but what they'll have to do is pay this. So there's this, $30,500. Now, we're a bit late. Let's say that was for 2024. It might be interest. So I'm not sure you were aware of this. It's a great functionality and form here that Larry explained to me. So we decided to apply the integration here as well. So on the interest page here, you can actually, set when is the filing date, but then when, is the estimated payment date, because the taxpayer didn't do their payment yet. And this will calculate interest, right? So this interest is also part of the payment. So we want this to go to, the tax pay profile as well. The Remitian. So the last part here is, in many cases, there's this balance due, but there's going to be estimated, installments, right? So these are the quarterly or monthly payments. So the calculation up there will come down here and then set up installments. And ultimately, you'll have dated installments, right? So I have a date here. So on June 30th, then I owe $500, and then a month later, $6,000, and so forth, right? So these are all other obligations that the taxpayer will have to figure out and pay, right? So they have to log in every month for that one corporate entity to make those payments, and then for all their entities, do that. So rapidly, or average taxpayers, I believe they do something like 24 payments per year on the solution, right? So this is a step that each of them could be forgotten, could lead to interest, and it's just time that, people want to do something else and then thinking about taxes. So introducing this Remitian. So we have an installer. So as you know, TaxCycle is a desktop application. So we created a Windows installer. When you run the installation, essentially it will add the Remitian ribbon here that I can use to connect. So I will be connecting my user. Okay, you can always remember me if you don't want to be prompted every time. So that's going to, I think it lasts something like 30 days. And that's an option. So here, what happened, essentially, the integration recognized the business number and it figured out that I already had a user and a taxpayer in Remitian. So the connection was done automatically. If this is a new one, instead of seeing use existing taxpayer, you'll see create taxpayer. And by clicking on that, this will create entirely in a single click your taxpayer in Remitian. So, what are their tax accounts, what's their email, what's their name, what's their business name, and so forth. So really no data entry, single click, and they're created. Now the firms use us for two primary purposes. One is reminders. So you want to send courtesy reminders to taxpayers, right? So a few days before it's due, say, IRS, your tax payment is due at CRA for $6,500 for your quarterly payments. Please, log in the platform and do your payment. So there's no fee. You can onboard an unlimited number of taxpayers and set up reminders. But where people really, where Remitian shines is with the payment here. So by clicking payment, not only am I setting up, it's not just a reminder, it will actually go through the process of setting the payment. And I'll walk you through a bit later as to how it looks like for the taxpayer. But really in a matter of seconds, you can create those payments. So now what you see here is on this form, I have 8 payment obligations. So I have my balance due, plus I have my quarterly or the monthly payment. And in a single click here, I click on the publish, and right from TaxCycle, it provisions on my taxpayer profile all the payments. And as you can see here, I have my balance due for the RC001, the amount, which includes the interest. So the interest was auto-calculated based on the interest sheet. And you can see here that the payment is due on July 30th. The withdrawal here is a few days before, and that really helps us making sure that there's sufficient funds in the bank account. So that's one of the big problem with taxpayers. They forget to move the money in the primary bank account before the tax is due. So using integrations like Cloud, you can actually probe the balance and then let the taxpayer know, say, hey, we have this payment coming, but the money is not in the bank account. Make sure to provision it. So this really smoothens out a lot of the insufficient fund problems. So you can see here. The next part is each of these entries are marked awaiting client approval. Okay, so we have an audit trail on every single one of these payments. There's a multi-step approval process. And so your client always has to approve those payments. Like, you won't be able to make a payment that magically will go out of the bank account of the taxpayer. They will always receive a notification, and then within one click, they can approve all their payments. But there is an approval process. It's really important from a compliance perspective. We can also, if your firm is structured in a way that you have a processing team or one of your administrative assistants does the filing and the administrative work, you can set an accountant as a reviewer before it goes to the client. Because these are payments. Like, payments are important. We want to make sure they're accurate. And so you can add that extra level of validation by having your accountant review the administrative assistant work, and then the taxpayer himself has to validate. So corporate tax, bread and butter. We also support individual tax, and then payroll, HST for trust, and then I'll talk about personal. So HST, remember that I'm still on TaxCycle here, right? So from my TaxCycle, I can create HST payments, and I can actually do HST filings. So if you open this view here, right, you'll recognize that form. Many accountants log in the bank account, the portal of the client, or you need, delegated access to file this. From Remitian, you can actually file the HST from here. You don't need any approvals from the taxpayer. We have a privileged access directly to CRA, so we can file those HST returns right away from TaxCycle to the CRA without any cumbersome steps. So that's something or accountants really like. Because for small firms, sometimes they're responsible for, like, bookkeepers, for instance, will come here quarterly and then set that up. In many cases here, so while we're talking about the payments, let's say this is a small dentistry, she's by herself. There is no complex payroll system in place. So what you can do here is you can come and then I can set up, let's say, my monthly payment for my current year payroll. So this is essentially a module to create a series for payroll. And then I can say here, okay, so let's start on June 30th. So we'll add a flat list. I can change the values downstream, but for now, let's say they're all equals. The period end date will be for June, and then going, July, August. Actually, the due date oftentimes is not the end of the month, but it's actually the 10th of the following. So I'm going to put the 10th for the end of June. So this is only, let's say 2 employees, 25,000 or something like that. And then I can save. So in few clicks, really, what I set up here is the entire payroll, source deduction for that small taxpayer who doesn't have a payroll system. You don't have to use it, but it's very simple to come and use that. So if I go to the tax account here, this is really where everything comes together. So Iris here, you can see, is managing and overseeing multiple tax accounts. So there's a CRA one for the corporate. Here you'll notice it's Alberta. So we do support Quebec and Alberta corporate taxes, and we're looking at rolling out many more provinces in the next few weeks almost. But I'm going to say months just to make sure. And also, right, you can have personal tax accounts. So one contact can be managing multiple tax entities, right? We have let's say you have a construction company, they incorporate each project. Sometimes they have a holding, and then they'll make sure to, put the risk into different incorporations so that one person can see all the different companies here. In terms of bank account, there's nothing for you to do here. What we're trying to do is really remove your involvement into the financial transmission, right? The money transmission. You don't set the bank account here. The taxpayer will set that. You can still see, okay, which bank account is being used, but you don't see the number. But really, that is something that the taxpayer can do. How we do that, essentially, we have an integration with a system called Plaid, and this validates that the customer is who they are. They can use their banking information in a very secure way to connect their bank account. That will set up a pre-authorized debit agreement, and everything is streamlined here. So in a few clicks, I can set up my bank account with Plaid. Lastly, like oftentimes you're wondering, okay, is there, like what are the payments? Or maybe TaxCycle is telling you, hey, when have I paid that? Which tax account? Where does it go? So from the payment history here, you can actually see, every single payment that went out from the platform from the beginning of time. What was the client name, what was the tax account, and so forth. So from an audit perspective, this is very useful. So finally, what firms like to do is they like to sometimes set up their logo, their color scheme. So the system will send reminders, will send notification ahead of taking money. Like we always send a reminder like, hey, in 2 days, Remitian will be debiting $13,000 for this payment, right? So you always have a notification ahead of time in case you want to cancel it, because you always have the option of canceling it. But you can actually put your brand in those emails with your color scheme. You can invite an unlimited number of team members. Each team member can have different permissions. So maybe you have an administrator, maybe you have an accountant, maybe there's an administrative assistant or someone who has just read only for reconciliation purposes. So all of that is done here. So as you've seen, right from, so I never really left a cycle. You can do your HST, you can set up the payroll, you can, in one click, set up all the payments for your customer, for your taxpayers for the year. And then let me show you what it looks like on the taxpayer perspective. Oh, so I think I was already logged in. So as a taxpayer, the view is a little bit different. I don't need to do as much. But what's important here is what do I need to approve, right? So essentially here I'll see like what are all the payments that all my payment obligations. So I see my corporate payment, I see the date, and then I see, and then I can in one click approve. And once they're approved, they go from my pending approval bucket into the pending schedule. I can also do bulk. I don't have to go one by one, so I can just go, approve all and so forth. But this is really to highlight the fact that the taxpayer needs to approve all of those payments. What's great is the taxpayer always has the flexibility of creating their own tax account. So they see that view. They can create their own tax account if they want. They can manage their own personal tax, for instance. So, not only you're giving them like tax accounts that you manage, but by adopting Remitian, you provide your taxpayers with the flexibility of managing their own tax for other entities they might be overseeing, all within one view. Lastly, we have health center or a team. So this is a demo, so I don't see it. But we have a chat, and our customer success team is very helpful. And one of the things we do is we take the level 1 calls, right? Sometimes your taxpayer will call you, hey, what about my payment? Well, now they don't call you, they call us, right? And we have the tools to actually perform the validation. Sometimes we call CRA. Like, we'll do what it takes to resolve that payment without you spending time on that. So, adopting Remitian, it's not just the software, it's also the peace of mind that, you have a team that can assist your taxpayers when they have problems in a way, and then we get in touch with the accountant on file when the question becomes complex, right? Sometimes it gets into kind of fiscal questions. Now we don't handle that. It's really on the payment side. So in a nutshell, that is Remitian. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance. And thank you for helping taxpayers sort out their obligations. We're really glad to have accountants supporting us.